Monica Ellison stepped into the lecture hall, gripping the strap of her backpack tighter than usual. The air in the room felt heavy, carrying the unspoken weight of skeptical glances. She was used to this feeling, walking into spaces where people judged her before she even had the chance to speak. But today, something felt different. She took a seat near the front, flipping open her notebook as the students around her continued chatting or scrolling through their phones. The lecture hall was vast, with towering ceilings, rows of seats stretching far back, and a massive blackboard at the front, designed to make students feel small. A reminder that they had to prove they belonged here when Professor Richard Henshaw entered. The room fell into immediate silence. He was known for his ruthless teaching style, pushing students to their limits. His gaze swept the room before stopping at Monica. A smirk played at his lips. "Miss Ellison," he said, elongating her name as if it were unfamiliar. "Come up and solve this for us." A hush fell over the room, laced with quiet whispers. Monica knew exactly what this was, not just a test, but a challenge. She stood up, walking toward the board with measured confidence. If they expected fear, they would be disappointed. She stepped up to the board, fully aware of the watchful eyes waiting for her to falter. The equation before her was complex, designed to trip up even the best students. A multivariable function, requiring both precision and insight from behind her. Whispers broke the silence. "She's going to mess it up. Does she even know where to start?" Monica blocked him out. Numbers made sense in ways that people didn't. Without hesitation, she picked up the chalk and made her first mark. The room grew eerily silent as she worked. She wasn't just solving an equation, she was proving that she belonged. She chose an unconventional approach, one that bypassed unnecessary steps. It wasn't just correct, it was efficient. Professor Henshaw, arms crossed, observed her closely. His expression shifted from passive indifference to focused scrutiny. He wasn't just watching, he was waiting for her to slip. She reached the final step, double-checking her work, not out of doubt, but because she knew people like Henshaw were always looking for a flaw. Then, she boxed her answer, placed the chalk down, and stepped back. The lecture hall remained silent. A few students sat up straighter, exchanging looks of surprise. Someone murmured, "She actually did it. And fast, too." Henshaw slowly approached the board, scanning her work with narrowed eyes. The longer he looked, the clearer it became. There was no mistake. Finally, he exhaled and admitted, "An unconventional approach, but correct," before the weight of his words could fully settle. Another voice rang out from the back of the room. "Not just correct, brilliant." Students turned to see Dr. Elaine Parker, another professor in the department, standing with admiration in her gaze. She didn't just solve it, she optimized it. "That's not just talent, that's mastery." Whispers filled the room. Some students, who had dismissed Monica earlier, now sat up, their expressions shifting from indifference to genuine curiosity. A few even jotted down notes, realizing she had just demonstrated a more efficient method than what they had been taught. But Professor Henshaw wasn't ready to concede so easily. Picking up the chalk, he said with forced calm, "Then let's try another one, shall we?" He wrote an even more complex equation on the board, layered with variables, limits, and exponentials, clearly designed to overwhelm. Stepping back, he gestured toward Monica. "Let's see if your method holds up here." The room grew tense, but Monica remained unfazed. She took the chalk once more, studying the equation. It was challenging, but not impossible. She began working through it, each step executed with the same precision as before. The students, once passive onlookers, were now engaged. Some leaned forward, their pens hovering over their notebooks, eager to follow her reasoning. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Professor Henshaw remained silent as the solution unfolded before him. When Monica finally boxed her answer and stepped back, the room held its breath. Dr. Parker stepped forward, crossing her arms as she studied the board. "Not only is it correct, but she found an optimization most students wouldn't even consider." The real shift wasn't just in the professors, it was in the students. Those who had ignored her before now whispered among themselves, She skipped 3 steps and still got it right. I wouldn't have even thought of that. For the first time. Monica saw something change, not just in how they looked at her, but in how they understood her. Professor Henshaw's fingers tightened around the chalk. But he knew he had lost control of the narrative. His usual smirk was gone, replaced with something more rigid. Well, he said after a pause, Miss Ellison has a unique way of approaching the material, Dr. Parker countered immediately. I'd call it advanced. She didn't just solve the problem, she mastered it. Henshaw's jaw tightened. He forced a thin smile. We'll see how she performs on the next exam. Monica didn't flinch. She knew exactly what he meant. This wasn't over. But it didn't have to be as students packed up. Murmurs filled the room again. But this time, they were different. Glances of skepticism had turned into curiosity. One student hesitated before approaching her. That was impressive. He admitted. Monica simply shrugged. I know. He let out a small chuckle. This wasn't mockery anymore. This was respect stepping outside. She inhaled the cool afternoon air. Her phone buzzed. A message from her friend Jordan. Jordan, how was class? Monica smirked. Typing back. Monica, same as usual. Except I just made Henshaw eat his own words. The reply came instantly. Jordan, no way. Tell me everything. Monica considered summarizing it. Monica, he thought he could humiliate me. He ended up embarrassing himself. Jordan's response came quickly. Jordan, that man has been a nightmare for years. Finally, someone put him in his place. Monica chuckled softly. She wasn't naive. One moment wouldn't change everything. Some people would still doubt her. Henshaw would still challenge her, but today, something had shifted. Not just in that classroom. Not just in how others saw her. But in how she saw herself. She had known her worth. Now. They did too, because respect isn't given, it's earned. And she had just earned it.